Welcome to the Mustache Multiverse, your one stop shop for everything movies, superheroes, and more. Once again, I'm Sam,
And I'm Alex.
and we are your friendly neighborhood hosts through this multiverse. So let's dive in with our first topic of the day.
Today, we are going to take you back in time a little bit to a time when the superhero genre was just expanding, and one TV station took a bit of a risk and created what might be one of the greatest TV multiverses of all time. Talking about the CW and the Arrowverse.
To be essential watching in the superhero fan world, to me, they did something special, right? We're talking right around the same time that some of these bigger movies are coming out. They were creating an interconnected universe on TV that we could watch every week through multiple shows. It was an incredible adventure to experience live, but now that it's streaming, you still get that same effect. You're bouncing between these different shows to try to find these different characters. I absolutely love it. And the reason we're talking about it today is because I think, as we all know, we're in a little bit of a lull right now between superhero movies. This happens. These movies take forever to make. So a lot of us are caught up on the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and a lot of people are getting off school. We're going to have a little bit more time on their hands. And boy, do we have something that you can dive into for seasons and seasons, hours and hours of show, and really get a lot out of it. I think it's phenomenal and essential watching, like I said.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's start where the Arrowverse started with The Arrow. Now, season 1 of Arrow, honestly, was kind of a bit of a risk, I'm sure, at the time, because the Arrow's a lesser known character. I mean, it's like taking Hawkeye and giving him his show right off the rip instead of waiting like till after Endgame. Like, could you imagine if Avengers, like before Iron Man, we got a Hawkeye show?
I just say, in Arrow's defense, he is way cooler than Hawkeye.
Yeah, for sure.
Right?
For
That's
sure.
What, like, not apples to apples. They both have a bow, but I'm not reducing them down to their weapon of choice. These are two different people.
Well, I feel like they both have their place on the superhero team, right?
Shooting arrows from rooftops and calling things out.
Shooting arrows from rooftops and calling things out.
Rooftops and calling things out. Yeah.
So, like, a bit of a risk for the CW to take this character who at the time was lesser known and make a show out of him. And I'm sure they never thought that it would become this giant universe that they created. And it's really cool to watch that progression if you watch it back starting now.
Yeah. And that's what I got to understand. It's like, I think they had this idea in mind, right? Like, let's introduce a character or two and just see if people kind of respond to them.
Yeah,
and then could we get another TV show out of them? But starting with Arrow is a huge risk to me, right? Not someone you think of when I say like the Justice League, right? You're going to name about 10 more people before you're going to get hit on the Arrow, right?
Yeah. Absolutely. But Stephen Amell, the actor who plays Arrow in that show, phenomenal job. And season 1 of Arrow tells a great story of him returning from his isolation on the island, coming back to the real world and stopping what's going on in his city. We get to see a lot of cool weekly villains pop up, a lot of fun characters we get introduced to here in season 1, all leading up to his face-off with the big bad.
And I think it's fun, right? It's an excellent show, great villains, great character work, interspaced with just pictures of him doing that ladder with his shirt off. I mean, it's a great show.
Absolutely. What more do you need, right?
No, at least 2 minutes
cool
of that in
action.
every episode.
Yeah. And the action scenes were honestly like pretty good for the budget they're working with. It's cool hand-to-hand combat scenes, things like that.
And we're talking TV, right? That's what I always come back to is like when we watch this, and this is before a lot of these kind of high budget, high caliber things were thrown towards superheroes. We're just starting in the mix of this. And they were able to do so much on a weekly episodic show.
Yeah. I think after season 1, they knew that they had a success on their hands. And I think we saw that with season 2 with how they really expanded their world, essentially. So season 2, obviously, the villain, Deathstroke, phenomenal. One of the greatest seasons of TV of all time, I would say.
I know, like if I was saying you got to start with something, you could watch season 1 and 2. Obviously, there's more to come here, but as long as you capture season 1 and 2, you're going to see, I think you're going to get hooked.
Yeah, absolutely. And I really like how Deathstroke is like featured throughout season 1 as well. He's not just like a random guy that pops up just in season 2, like conveniently, like we get to know the character along the way, and then he becomes the big bad.
And this is the payoff before, like, we waited so long for Thanos, who's getting these like 2-second clips at the end of these movies. This was like, we really started to get to know these characters and then get a payoff a lot sooner.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, these first 2 seasons were coming off of the back of things like the Batman trilogy, so Batman Begins, The Dark Knight Rises, things like that, at a time when superhero was a bit more of a dark, gritty genre. You know, we hadn't really gotten to like the Guardians of the Galaxy aspect of Marvel quite yet. But in season 2 of Arrow, we got introduced to a different superhero, The Flash, who was a much different, almost the polar opposite, you would say, of what we saw on the Green Arrow. And the fact that they were able to introduce that on Arrow and then spin that into another show was so cool.
Incredible. And it really leveraged, like, right, the base work that have been done with these characters for many years in the comic books, right? Friends that have done different personalities. You've got Green Arrow, who can be a little bit darker, sometimes can be very funny, depends on how he's portrayed in the comic books. But then you get
Yeah.
this lighthearted Flash, right?
Yeah.
So you get this dichotomy of these two characters we get to see play out on screen because of the background that we've had with them. And then having them split up into their own separate shows, again, mind blowing at the time.
Yeah, insane. And The Flash, at least for the first 2-3 seasons, is probably one of my favorite shows of all time.
Mhm.
The cast of that show is great. The pacing, the fun, lightheartedness of each episode, but also when it's time to get serious, they can buckle down and get serious. The mystery aspect of season 1 of The Flash, of like who is the Reverse Flash and that payoff and everything, phenomenal writing.
Right. And I think that's where, like, I think one of the criticisms of like early Marvel, right, is the lack of dimensions with their villains, right? We just have these kind of classic bad guys, and a lot of them I would struggle to name today, right? They don't have a lot of flavor to them. With these, when we get to spend a whole season with some of these bad guys, and a lot of them you get to see flashes of in previous seasons before you get to have them as a main villain, I thought that the villains were one of the strongest parts of the Arrowverse.
Yeah, definitely. Way more fleshed out, way more story background given to the villains. Now, the weekly villains were more like what you would see in the general Marvel movies, weekly episodic. We just got to stop this guy quick, things like that. But
Gotta put me to beat up.
even some of those had some good like background, some good characters too, things like that.
Absolutely, right. Some of them we got to see a couple times and we loved them, and they became even bigger than themselves, right? Like, let's take
Yeah.
Captain Cold.
Yes.
Awesome villain, was supposed to just kind of be this quick, kind of beat him up kind of guy. And then
Mhm.
we continue to develop, continue to see him, continue to love him until he gets something of his own.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, perfect two shows that really contrasted each other very well. The dark, gritty Arrow versus the fun, hopeful vibe of The Flash. And seasons 1 and 2 of both shows absolutely knocked it out of the park. And then, of course, we also got a little bit darker with season 2 of The Flash, being a bit more of a darker story, a darker villain. But I feel like they still were able to keep the fun vibe sprinkled in with also the serious dark aspect of
Completely
Zoom.
agree, right? I think that that's one thing that, like, it was much more dynamic. I think Arrow was great, really complex characters, but really kept this kind of dark and suspenseful grittiness to it throughout. Where The Flash, you could go down and you could feel good, right? You're watching a fun show while also having high stakes, right? They didn't take things lightly. So to me, that was the perfect mix. It was this dynamic show that let me experience all of my emotions all in an episode.
Yeah. Now let's talk about some of the characters we've been introduced to so far, because that's going to lead us into talking about Legends of Tomorrow. So far with Arrow, we got the Lances, so the Black Canaries. We've got John Diggle. We've got Felicity Smoke, Ray Adam, the Atom,
Ray Palmer.
right? Roy Harper, people like that who eventually would start build the Legends of Tomorrow team. And then in The Flash, Cisco Ramon, Caitlin Snow, Firestorm, people like that who would also be pivotal parts of this Legends of Tomorrow team. Captain Cold, as you mentioned earlier, things like that. So they were slowly building up this cast of characters till they could do big crossovers, big ensemble team ups, and also spin off into a crossover ensemble show.
And they created such cool, you call them side characters because that's where they came from, right? We got to see them develop. They're their own plot lines in a lot of these shows, kind of these mini plot lines in these shows. And you get them to the point where you're like, I want to see so much more of this character, but this isn't their show. It'd be difficult to have them be the main character. So they gathered all of these incredible side characters together and gave them their own show.
Yeah, which fantastic. And the crossovers too, I feel like did such a good job if you're like looking at just the crossover episodes of building. Like the first couple crossovers when it was just Flash and Arrow, they didn't jump to a giant big bad villain for just these two heroes to stop, right? They weren't jumping in with their own Thanos. They were stopping, who was it in the first crossover? It was just like some random like criminal of the week, and then there was he like, I don't remember. He was some kind of Captain Boomerang. Is that who it was? I think they did Captain Boomerang very early.
It does seem right. You know what? You nailed it.
Yeah.
Captain Boomerang and Rainbow Rider.
And then the next one, they introduced Hawk Girl and Hawkman, which was also kind of crazy.
Really cool storyline.
Yeah. But they built up these crossovers. So they didn't jump in with like a crazy big bad, but they needed something where they could just team up and show these two characters interacting, and they got it.
And it did build up over time. Like you're saying, like we didn't start too big that you like thought that these characters were invincible, because I think that's one of the other things that I felt was really well done in these, is that I felt like our characters were fallible. I thought that they could lose, they could even die, right? We had so much of a cast of characters. If we lost one, they could replace them with a different character or move on to a different character. So at any point, the stakes were always very high to me, because I thought at any point we could lose one of these main characters or at least side characters at any given time, so they could go up against increasing levels of threats with the increased loss that was potentially there.
Yeah, and it might have been a bit formulaic towards the end, but I feel like, especially early on, there was an episode in each season where the big bad absolutely destroys the hero, and you're like, oh no,
He's going to lose.
How are we possibly going to stop this guy?
And I agree with you. I think maybe that's one of the main criticisms of these type of shows is that they started out like we were talking about. These first 2-3 seasons were gold. I couldn't have asked for anything better from the side characters and the main characters from the villains. A lot of them did hit maybe a little bit of a slump throughout, but a lot of them did come back.
Now, branching off into Legends of Tomorrow. Now, admittedly, I have not watched all of Legends of Tomorrow. It kind of was coming out around the time when superhero fatigue was kind of picking up, and we were seeing a lot more Marvel, like 3 or 4 movies a year, and it was all formulaic. But from what I've seen about Legends of Tomorrow and what I've heard from people online is that they really like embrace the quirky weirdness of comic books in that show. They have like wacky villains every week. They do crazy time traveling gimmicks all the time. Just like a really fun vibe to a show.
And I think maybe that's what was needed out of that show, right? We've got some grittiness in the Arrow. We've got a decent level of darkness and grittiness in the Flash. So if you're going to ask viewers to watch a third show, do we want to keep hammering home like these dark, terrible vibes? Or should we just give them something fun that they can casually interact with some of their favorite heroes? So I think that they understood kind of the assignment of like, what does the show need to be, and executed it very well.
Yeah, and they have the time travel aspect to it. So they really took that and used it to its full extent and did the craziest stuff they could.
Love that. Love seeing, right? Like, just like you're saying, it epitomizes comic books. Take these incredible heroes, give them interesting places to be and interesting tasks to do, and let the story tell itself.
All right. And then last one on our list that we're going to talk about is Supergirl. So Supergirl was another one, came out, I think, after Legends of Tomorrow. I don't think it has as long of a run as the other shows, but it was a very good show. Kind of the same vibe as The Flash, of hopeful character, things like that. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I didn't interact with the show as much. I saw Supergirl mostly during the crossover events because, like you said, really big on the Arrow, really big on the Flash. I didn't watch Legends of Tomorrow very much, and then Supergirl, just because that superhero fatigue was really setting in.
Yeah.
I've gone back and watched some, and I've really enjoyed what I've seen, but at that time wasn't as invested in trying to keep up with 4 different shows. But during the crossover events that I did see them in, just loved seeing this cast of characters, each one getting their own spotlight.
Yeah, I really enjoyed the friendship between Barry Allen and Supergirl. Their like vibe together of both being like so like happy and hopeful was just like really fun to see.
In a world of darkness, yeah, they were great.
Yeah, and I think they even did a musical episode together, which is just like insane
and it was incredible.
Like, imagine a TV show getting to the point of popularity where they can be like, yeah, let's do a musical episode and absolutely crush it for some reason.
Every musical episode I've ever seen has been incredible. I know like Scrubs did one. Obviously, the show did one. I'm trying to think if there's more. What was that? Community?
Community, I think, did one.
Probably. Sounds about right.
Yeah, they did weird episodes.
Anybody who's doing a musical episode, I'm here for. Send it my way. I'm ready to see it.
Yeah, it's good. It was Brandon Urie in that episode, or am I misremembering that? The guy from
the
Panic
lead
at the
singer
Disco?
of Panic at the Disco.
Yeah, am I misremembering that, or is that who that was?
Was he super in any way? Just by
You like the bad guy.
Super voice? He was a bad guy, Brandon Urie.
I think I'm misremembering that. No,
we could write like a fan
Urie.
fiction of Brandon Urie in these. That could be fun.
That could be fun. Hold on, I gotta look this guy up now. He played the music miser.
Looked like
Oh, it was Darren Criss.
Darren Criss, I loved him.
Yeah, there we go. We're back.
Yeah, I'm back better than ever. Darren Criss from Glee, everyone, incredible actor. I love Darren Criss.
There we go. They kind of look a little similar. I don't know. Darren Criss.
It's just Darren
fantastic.
Criss. I'm full in on Darren Criss. I'm back.
Did you watch Glee?
Yeah, watched everything.
Did you recognize Grant Gustin, the Flash from Glee?
I did, from the Warblers, actually. Sorry, some of us who watch Glee would know.
Very good. I'm proud of you and your Glee knowledge.
Had every CD.
Now, before we're being a little too light and fluffy here, so let's get a little dark and gritty. Let's talk about a few of the flaws of these shows. Don't get too excited.
I love that. That's a great transition. I'm nervous. I'm scared.
So, some flaws that I feel, and let me know what you think. I feel like the shows always had a dip. And particularly, weirdly enough, they all kind of dipped around the 4th season where like the show just kind of like fell off a cliff somehow.
I almost have to wonder, and I think we could look back and look if maybe writing changed around that time. It felt like we had a plan, at least for season 1 and season 2, right? You've got a main villain, and then either you're introducing a different villain kind of interspaced in there that you're going to fight in season 2, season 3. Or your season 1 villain, like in The Flash, kind of comes back throughout the episodes and the later seasons, so you kind of see them again. Something ties you back to these villains who meant something. I don't know if the writing changed in season 4, but I completely agree with you. It seemed like around season 4, we seemed to just lose it a little bit. And for me, a lot of it was like these villains. I wasn't as invested as I was in season 1, season 2 of these shows that I really wanted to see if we could overcome them. By the time season 4 rolls around, I was like, okay, we're probably not gonna have a problem with this villain.
Yeah,
We
it
fought
felt
some
like
incredible bads.
the villains, yeah, they had such incredible villains going into those seasons where they were like, all right, who can we use now? And the villains kind of felt like people that would have been good for like a mini arc, but not like a full on season.
And they do a lot of mini arcs in those shows. So a lot of times when you're seeing those villains, I kept thinking like, okay, when are we going to beat this villain and move on to the main
Yeah.
bad? But it never came.
They'd get like the villain cornered and be like, we've got you now. And then like something dumb would happen and the villain would just like walk away. And like, how did we get away?
Yeah, and not season 4, but I know you were specifically upset by Cicada flying away with this knife. You didn't like that.
Yeah, it just, how does it, explain it to me? Explain the physics. He
I
would
liked
be
it.
cornered by, also, you're the Flash. You can't run and catch him. They're like, follow him. He's flying away with a knife, right? And then you can just like run under him and like wait for him to land. He's got to land sometime.
And that physics is upsetting to you in the Flash TV show?
Yeah, dude, Barry Allen, the Flash, could have stopped so many villains like immediately.
Instantaneously?
Yeah, so fast. You tell me you couldn't just like catch the Thinker and put him in his private prison under his laboratory?
Okay. Yeah. I mean, sure. Yeah. It just feels like at some point we're going to run out of cells in there. Just keep throwing bad guys in there. I mean, come on.
Just saying. All right, critique number 2. The crossovers kind of felt like homework eventually. Like you were talking about how we kind of fell off and superhero fatigue was catching up to us at the time when these shows were really peaking. So when I turned on these crossovers and I had to watch 5 episodes of TV in a week, it's a lot.
Agreed. And I think what they did really well in the earlier ones, which they probably needed to carry over into the later ones, is like there was a reason that I was watching each one of these episodes. It didn't just like, not a continuation. Like there was a point to watching it on one series and then watching it on another series. Didn't feel like you just had to keep dragging out that one story to fill whatever that happens to be, a couple hours of TV.
Yeah, for sure. And one more I have it here under flaws, and I'm not sure what this means, but we typed in the doc Florence Pugh effect.
I thought you typed that in, dude. I don't know what that means.
I have no idea.
Is that a phenomenon?
I don't know.
Was she in that show?
I don't think that'd be a flaw for any reason.
I'll watch anything she does. I don't understand that as a negative.
I don't know why.
That had to be
Villain
you.
formula, Florence Pugh effect, crossovers became home. Hey, in the audience, if you know what we were talking about when we put that in this doc, let us know down below.
Florence Pugh effect is like every movie she's in, she makes an incredible film out of. I don't understand what the criticism is here.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, was there a character that like made every episode better?
And then it's a flaw?
And then that was a flaw. I don't know. Florence Pugh is great. Let's move on.
Sure. Yeah,
Right.
I think that was good.
That was really good. So a few wrap-up questions. Do you think that the Arrowverse changed superhero TV?
I think it defined it for a brief while there, right? Like, I think a lot of people, what the comparison you're going to make to is the Marvels, what are they called? The Defenders, right?
Yeah.
When you've got Daredevil, Punisher, or he wasn't really part of that, was he? He's like Iron Fist, Luke Cage, Jessica Jones. So
Yeah.
a lot of comparisons are
Punisher
going to be
was in
made between the
season
two.
2.
And I think something to keep in mind is the differences probably in budget and amount of episodes that we had to produce here, right? Daredevil, can't take anything away from it. Incredible show, but was significantly less episodes, significantly higher budget, so they could do different things. When we're talking about strictly a on TV episodic show, I couldn't have asked for a better execution than what I saw with the Arrowverse.
Absolutely. I feel like Arrow kind of paved the way for Daredevil in particular, because they are also dark, grittier characters, darker stories being told, things like that. And if you watch like the side characters on that show too, they kind of have like a fun light vibe, kind of like how you see on The Flash, to kind of like balance out the dark grittiness of Daredevil.
Completely agree. Like, I think that the comparisons are fair. I just hope that one day, like what we've seen with Daredevil, is he's back doing new shows, telling new stories, potentially could be in more movies. I think Daredevil, there's a bright future ahead for that character. I would love to see the same for a lot of these characters we saw in DC. I thought that they put in the work. Even a lot of these actors put in the work as these characters to give us really something special. I'd love to see that maybe even come back again in a bigger, maybe a movie, maybe something different.
Yeah. Do you think that we could pull off, not we, like me and you, but like society could pull off an overarching, like interconnected universe like this on TV in today's age?
I think you throw Florence Pugh in there, we've got a chance.
Well, I mean, obviously, that's a guarantee if we do that.
Right. I think like something to the heart of the question that you're asking is probably around like attention span. Like, could we do something like this again in 25 episodes a season that interconnects over 5 different shows? It would be very difficult to do, right?
We're looking
I
at
think
like
this took
20
place-
seasons of TV total. Obviously, aired at the same time for most of them, but like
A lot of TV.
20 seasons of shows. Yeah.
I think It's difficult to say, right? I think that it took place at a very special time, right? Where there wasn't as many things. We didn't have the entire Infinity Saga out at that time, right? There was not as much. We were starting to ramp up, right? Getting towards that superhero fatigue, but we were still in a perfect spot where people were hungry for it every week. I think now that we only get like two Marvel movies a year, maybe. DC, maybe one, maybe two. Now could be a time where something like that could come back because we aren't in that super oversaturation of superheroes. We could maybe do an episodic weekly show.
Okay. Last question. We're both going to do this. I want you to rank, since we are both most familiar with Arrow and Flash, do this separately. Top 3 seasons of Arrow, top 3 seasons of Flash. I'll go first. For Arrow, I think it's got to be season 2 by a fairly wide margin. Deathstroke was just such a good villain. The story being told throughout season 1 and 2 with him. Then season 1 and then season 3. 2, 1,
So
3.
unfortunately for the Arrow, that's going to be the same for me. Mostly because those 3 villains, I think, made that show. We're talking Ra's al Ghul, which is someone we saw on the big screen, couldn't have asked for a bigger bad to do. Deathstroke, which was definitely a huge villain, but I think what made him was the execution in that show. Deathstroke is a great villain depending on how that they're portrayed. And in that show specifically, it was done perfectly.
Yeah, absolutely. Then for the Flash, out of the first 3 seasons, how would you rank them?
I'm going to have to go 1, 3, 2. I know.
There's a bit of a hot take. Let's talk about it because I got 1, 2, 3. And 1 and 2 are really close for me. I really liked Zoom as a bad guy and as a story.
I hear that. I understand you. I see you. I respect you.
That's good to know. We're doing a podcast together. I hope we respect each other.
To a point, right? And this is the point. I thought that season 3 was so good. And I remember talking to you about this at the time, right? You were not in love with the storyline. I was in love with the storyline because of the brief glimpse we got of like failure, right? And him trying to understand, how do I avoid failure, right? I'm running towards a failing opportunity here and I'm not going to make it. I don't know what to do. So for me, it encapsulated like, what is the Flash without hope? Right? The thing that defines him is this hopeful, I can do anything with the help of my friends. What happens when I know I'm going to fail? Right? Hope is gone. What does my character do?
That's true. And season 3 did have a lot of cool moments, a lot of high points. They did their own little Flashpoint arc at the start of season 3. They brought in Draco Malfoy to play Alchemy. That was great.
Incredible.
Love Draco Malfoy. So like season 3 has a lot going for it. And I think The Flash, all 3 seasons are better than Arrow's first 3 seasons.
I agree.
Sure.
And I understand that a lot of people probably don't think that way. I completely agree with you. I know that we're kind of just on the Flash train. I don't know what it was that resonated with us about that, but I thought The Flash was, for me, the premier TV show of the entire Arrowverse.
Absolutely. I honestly thought you would put Arrow season 3 above season 1 just because of Ra's al Ghul.
Yeah.
But kind of surprised me.
Right, and I love Ra's al Ghul, right? Anything, as
weird
we'll
thing
all
to say
come to
about
know.
the leader of the League of Assassins, but
I'll take him. I love him, right? For me, it's the Florence Pugh effect, probably. I don't know what that means still. But I love anything connected to the Batman universe. But for me, I guess I was looking at it as this is a Green Arrow story. What can we tell with this story? So it's just a little bit different.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. So if you're looking for something to watch over these next couple months while we wait for Spider-Man and Avengers Doomsday, definitely check out Arrow, The Flash. Maybe you'll find a character you can latch onto that you'll like to see in Legends of Tomorrow, Supergirl, see this whole universe, kind of see this incredible saga unfold. Let us know down below. What's your favorite part about the Arrowverse, your favorite season, favorite character, whatever you got. And don't forget to follow us on our socials at the Mustache Multiverse.
Yeah, quick update. Florence Pugh effect. It refers to the profound emotional toll that Florence Pugh experienced after methodically immersing herself in traumatizing roles. So what did we think that had to do with this role?
I don't think that is what I thought at all.
But I mean, I'm telling you what it is.
All right. Anyway, Florence Pugh, you're fantastic. Come on the podcast.
Anytime.